This video is brought to you by patreon.com/worsttake. Get access to exclusive live streams and Discord servers, on-screen shoutouts, and early access to some videos when you join now. Help make sure that we can continue to make content like this by supporting the Patreon. Links are in the description down below. All right, so Jeudy, who just got traded to the Cleveland Browns, has just signed an extension. Shout out to Jake Burns, because I feel like he was one of the first people I heard talking about the Browns sniffing around in that area, trying to see what an extension is like for Jeudy, because in his mind, he thought the trade made a lot more sense if the Browns went for an extension. And I think this extension makes a ton of sense and is something that has a good potential to work out for the Cleveland Browns. And if Jeudy just gives you regular production, I still think that you're fine in this contract. I don't think it's as big as a risk as people make it out to be. And I think there are a couple of factors in that. One, I think people are just so down on Jeudy that they act like his production hasn't been there. Like, has it been what people hyped him up out of college being? No. But is it right in line with the mid to late round, first round pick, what they do on average? It's right there, right? He hasn't been a non-productive wide receiver in the NFL, but yet people talk about other guys who have been just as productive as Jeudy in a higher light. So I think this is some of the reaction that you see going around has to do with how people feel about Jeudy, which I think people are a little bit too low on Jeudy right now. And also I think a lot of it has to do with people just don't understand contracts, right? We've talked about this before with the Deshaun Watson thing. People don't understand contracts. We've run into that issue a lot here in Cleveland, talking about how contracts work and people not really understanding why contracts are structured a certain way or the language in a contract. Case in point, when you see Jeudy sign this contract and you see it's 3 years, $58 million, and you think to yourself, oh my God, the Browns are paying Jeudy $19 million a year to play wide receiver. Not really the case, right? They give you that big number to make you think that he got a $19 million extension, when in reality, it's not a $19 million extension. What it is they picked up his 5th-year option, essentially, in the extension, right? So when you see the guaranteed money, which the guaranteed money was reported at $41 million, it's really high for guarantees. So what's likely is that their agent added the guaranteed money that he would get from a 5th-year option. So that would be around, $15 million. So you should track 41 from 15. You get about $26 million guaranteed. Makes a lot of sense because the contract seems to have a $14 million base. So their base salary is about $14 million. They have a couple of extra million in incentives. And all in all, I'd be surprised if the cap hit for Jeudy got more than $17 million during the course of the contract, right? I think it's probably less than that. And now that he's extended, you have flexibility with how you use his money. We saw them do some restructuring. We saw them move some money around. We were wondering what they're doing that for. This looks like what they were doing it for, why they were reorganizing some things. And also why they didn't drop the Deshaun Watson restructure yet. So that's what they were moving around the money for. And if you look at Jeudy's contract in the proper light, right? Not by just looking at the raw number and trying to divide it by 3 and saying he's making $19 million a year. Remember, it's up to $58 million a year, which means maybe at the most it can get to 19, but realistically it's going to get to 17. And that's not saying he's not going to hit these incentives, but we don't know what these incentives are. These incentives could be personal based, like, oh yeah, if you get to 2,000 yards, you can get all that extra money. Or it could just be team base, like a Super Bowl bonus or something like that. Like, you can throw all kind of incentives in there. Either way, even if he got $19 million a year, it wouldn't be that bad of a contract given how much wide receiver salaries have jumped in the last couple of years. $19 million is really not that much for a wide receiver. The base deal is around $14 million in reality, and that puts him around Cortland Sutton, DeAndre Hopkins, and Gabe Davis. Gabe Davis is the only one that's kind of close to him when it comes to age. And if we look at what Gabe Davis has put up throughout his NFL career, it's very, 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 very similar to what Jerry Jeudy has done. Jerry Jeudy has about 3,000 receiving yards so far in his career. You look at Gabe Davis, it's just about the same, right? About 3,000 receiving yards, both similar ages, both 4 years in the league, both coming off the rookie contract. Obviously, Jerry Jeudy has that extra year of control with the 5th year option. The Browns essentially did by extending him. So again, I don't think this contract's crazy when you put it into proper context. And I think what's happening right now is a lot of people are putting this contract out of context, or they just don't understand what it is that they're really talking about. Again, and Jerry Jeudy's numbers, I think people have the misconception that his numbers are awful coming out of Denver. They're not awful. They just haven't been what people expected, right? People expected him to be, a 1,200, 1,300 yard receiver. But also, keep in mind, when you look at somebody like Amari Cooper's career early on, he was hitting these similar numbers that Jerry Jeudy was hitting. And it took Amari Cooper all the way till he got to Cleveland to hit his best career numbers. So the book is not written on a wide receiver in his first 4 years. And 856 yards his rookie year, 467 in an injury-ridden 2021. And then he had 972 yards in a season where he only played 15 games. And then in 2023, where he played 16 games, he had 758 yards. He's been a productive receiver. Not been the most productive receiver, but he's been a productive receiver in Denver, despite the fact that he's had horrible quarterback situations while he was in Denver, right? His first 2 years with Drew Lock, his next 2 years with Russell Wilson, which was an especially bad situation for him because Jerry Jeudy is a guy who works out the slot primarily, and Russell Wilson is somebody who has been notorious for not being able to find the middle of the field. It's been a mess at the quarterback position with Jerry Jeudy. And look, the Browns aren't going to be like going to the Kansas City Chiefs when it comes to quarterback situation. But Deshaun Watson, if he can stay healthy, you know that there is opportunity to produce there. And even if Deshaun Watson can't stay healthy, the Browns have been able to have Amari Cooper produce in all of this Deshaun Watson being on and off the field chaos, right? So there's some help there. You're coming to a situation where you do have a legitimate mentor in Amari Cooper to at least watch, if not, go under his wing and really learn more in depth about the wide receiver position and what you should and shouldn't be doing at that spot. And then also you're getting better coaching. I think the Browns are just a better coach team than Denver was from 20 to 23. I think it's a better situation for him to develop in. I think there's going to be less stress on him to produce because at the end of the day, the Browns still have Amari Cooper. They still have David Njoku. They want Jerry Jeudy to produce. He's going to be asked to produce, but I don't think the pressure is going to be on him in the same way that it was in Denver. And I think there's something psychologically that helps a guy who had a lot of expectations that was drafted in the first round. Once they move on from the team that drafted him in the first round, they don't have to worry about living up to what other people put them in or what other people want them to be, and they can kind of just live up to being who they are. And I think that's going to really help Jerry Jeudy out in his second move. So, I mean, you look at the contract, it's about what Gabe Davis is getting paid. And if Jerry Jeudy steps in and he plays like Jerry Jeudy has, which is like 800 to 900 yards receiving, then you're paying a fair value for Jerry Jeudy at $14 million. This is about what Jerry Jeudy is worth, if that's the case. And it would probably be a little bit less because we know the salary cap goes up 8% every year, which means the money for wide receiver goes up every year. So if Gabe Davis is worth $14 million in this offseason period, he's probably going to be worth like $16 or $15.5 million in the next offseason period. So the value for that contract is going to get better and better as years go on, even if Jerry Jeudy just produces at the level that he's produced throughout his NFL career. Unless your argument is that Jerry Jeudy is going to come to the Browns and get worse, then I don't see how you can look at this and look at it as if it's a bad deal. You can argue that they got below market value for Jerry Jeudy, and that's also not including the upside. I go back to the David Njoku deal, right? And people act like now that the David Njoku deal is different. I've already seen people try to reject that comparison where people are like, hey, you didn't think the Jerry Jeudy deal was a great deal, but David Njoku, when the Browns extended him, you also didn't think that was a good idea. And they're like, oh, that's a completely different situation. It's really not. The Browns gave David Njoku that extension, I believe, in the offseason last year. And up until that point, David Njoku's highest season as a receiver, he had about 639 yards, and that was his second year in the NFL. He had just come off a season where he got 628 yards and 4 touchdowns. David Njoku, every year he was a Cleveland Brown up until the point where he got that extension. I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, he got it in 2021 or 2022. Somebody tell me in the comment section, but it would make sense if it was in 2022 because that was when his 5th-year option was up. So he got that extension. People dogged it, said it was a terrible deal. David Njoku plays in 2022, gets 628, looks like he's worth the money. Then in 2023, David Njoku gets 82 yards, is an integral part to your offense, gets 6 touchdowns, and looks like he is worth well more than what you're paying David Njoku. Jerry Jeudy's in the same spot of his career, right? David Njoku, when that happened, he was about 25, 26 years old. Jerry Jeudy at the time of signing is about 25, 26 years old. Well, he's 24. Well, yeah, going to be 25, 26 years old. So he's ready to take that next step. He's been in bad situations, but has produced decent numbers in those bad situations. Hasn't really lived up to what people expected out of him coming out of Alabama. But hopefully now he's in a situation where it's going to be a little easier to live up to those expectations. If he lives up to those expectations, the money makes sense for where you're paying him. If he exceeds it like David Njoku did, then now you're paying $14 million a year, maybe up to $19 million a year for a number one receiver when Amari Cooper's been your number one receiver and he's costed you $20 to $25 million a year over the last couple. So not only are you saving money, you're saving money when the salary cap is going up. So you're doubling up there, and it makes a ton of sense. Now, what does this mean for the future? It means to me that they really think that Jerry Jeudy can come in here and have a strong chance to replace the production in a couple of years of Amari Cooper. We'll see if that happens, but they think that that has a strong chance to happen. It also tells me that they really believe in Jerry Jeudy, right? This is a little bit of a risk that they're taking. Not as big as a risk as people are making it out to be, but a little bit of a risk, right? And they seem to believe that everything's there for Jerry Jeudy to produce, that they can get him the targets that he needs to live up to that, and that Deshaun Watson is going to be able to throw the ball and be healthy. This also sounds to me like they're pretty confident in where Deshaun Watson is. I don't imagine that they do something like this if they're not confident that Deshaun Watson's at a good place with his shoulder. I know people were worried about that when they signed Tyler Huntley. I don't think that's the case. I think that had more to do with DTR than it had to do with Deshaun Watson. But that's my thoughts on the whole Jerry Jeudy signing. I think it's a good thing. I think, if Jerry Jeudy plays like Jerry Jeudy, you have him at market value, on 2023 market value. So that's fine. And if he plays even better, then you have him undervalued. So either way, I think the Browns will come out of this pretty fine here. And again, this is just another reminder when it comes to contract stuff, can't just take the big number and divide it by whatever the number of years that is. You got to do a little bit more digging than that if you want to get a more accurate picture of what that contract is. So that, I think, is a good thing. It keeps some good, talented young players on the Browns roster for time to come. And the Browns have a lot of really good, talented young players under contract. Now, I think they set their sights on possibly extending somebody like JOK. And I hope they get that one done too as well, because the Browns are at a point to where retaining the players on their roster is going to be a bigger priority than adding players to it, because what they have is pretty damn good. That's my thoughts. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Y'all have a great day. Have an even better night. Peace.